Mr. Wamba, how you doing, sir? Are y'all ready? I can stand here all night. No, you're not. You've already checked in, haven't you, Rick? I'll see you next meeting. Oh, I got a phone call. I got to go. All right, are we ready? We're still at a dull roar. All right, now we're getting better. All right, first and foremost, I just got a text from Mike Jackson. He will not be here today. But you should see the length of this text message. Please try Hawken, Fredericksburg Heritage, and Marble Falls Faith. So all you six-man whores, you need to get a hold of Mike Jackson. He needs you badly. And there are only 65 other games to cover as well. So, Wayne Elliott says 66. All right. Take my time. Good to see you, Marvelous. All right. Well, first one on my list is Fashion Police. How much fun are we having with the knee pads? Still. We need to stay on this, guys. Send their ass off the field, make them pull them pants down. I mean, we're not sending guys off on ours. We're telling them to pull the pants down. Now, if he doesn't listen, he's got one play, and then he goes. But everybody needs to do it. So if he comes back out with them pants up here, okay, pull them down, that's fine. Well, they're not custom fit pants. I had a phone call from Coach Taylor at Pflugerville, and he asked about the basketball knee pads. So Coach Taylor went a step further, and I explained to him what Bill Theodore from Tasso said about pants need to cover at least half of the knee pad. No skin can show. Coach Taylor was fine with that. He ordered a buttload of knee pads. Okay? Work with the coaches, but I don't want to show up on a field next week and say, well, they didn't say shit last week about them. Okay? That defeats the purpose of every other crew working that game, that school. Okay? Stay with them. Stay on them. It's not going to get better overnight. Hell, we still can't keep them off the sideline, can we? Keep working with them. How many of you got an email from Arnold? Yes, Melvin.
Watching the Friday night replays of high school football all around the state, it appears to me that the other chapters are doing a hell of a lot better job than we are. What's the question? Here.
Knee pads. Pants covering the knees. Did you hear Melvin? He says watching highlights from around the state, other chapters are doing a hell of a lot better job than we are. I know it sucks. I hate having to worry about socks and tights and all this crap, but we got to stay with it, guys. Because you're only screwing the crew next week. Okay? Arbiter pay. Have you signed up for arbiter pay? Are you gonna? If you don't, it may be 2019 before you see a check. It's the way of the world. They're wanting to go green. AISD has been on this green kick since my wife was a teacher there 7 years ago. And that's what arbiter pay helps them do, is to go green. So if you haven't signed up, all I'm going to say is please consider it. Okay? All right. How many of y'all had fun with Mother Nature last week? Who got done the latest? Was it Bowie? Bowie, John. 1:30 in the morning? 1:30. Wayno? Oh, 6-man game finishing right now. Damn, 1:30 in the morning ain't nothing. Mother Nature is undefeated. Let me tell you, it is a 2-hour drive from Dripping Springs to Lexington. And then you get out on the field, and the coach says, well, it ain't rained all week. And the turd floater unloads. You know what that is? That's when it rains so much it backs a septic tank up, and the turds come out of the ground. That's a turd floater. Case in point, how many of y'all saw the old Hippodrome pictures? That field was way the hell underwater. Yeah.
Hey, did Lexington continue to get rain all week?
Yeah.
Because we didn't kick off middle school game till 7:45 Thursday night because of the rain.
Maul said it didn't rain maybe 10 minutes all week.
Yeah, he lied.
Hey, I will tell you a funny story. After Coach Maul called it postponed the game, he was in the locker room with us and he said, you know, I do get a little intense. And I looked at Mike Kelly and I went, no. If you've had Lexington, you know what I'm talking about. All right, boys. Hang in there. Mother Nature may kick your butt again this week. But we got district games. All right, sub-varsity. It may be, but we got to work them. You need to call your referee. If you're not the R, call your R. We used to say this every week, and I haven't said it yet, but I ended up calling 3 of the 4 that worked for me, 2 of the 3. Van Geffen was the only one that got a hold of me early. R's, call your schools. With the rain in the area this Thursday and Friday, make sure you call your schools. All right, we're halfway through the regular season. After this week, we're getting down. Arnold also, he wanted to talk really bad. I said no. No, I'm just playing. When we meet next time, dues will be due. If you haven't paid them, make sure you bring your check, money order, or cash. Oh, he'll take credit cards too. Nope, can't deduct it out of your arbiter pay. But you can get a credit card through arbiter pay, a debit card, and then Arnold can process it. And remember, we're asking if it's possible for you to give 1 game check to our scholarship fund. You can do that next time we meet as well. Okay. You about ready? Wayno. I know, right?
I really never have anything to say, but I got an email today, so I guess I'll say this. It seems like I do this every time I come up here. By whom are the games assigned? Me. How are the games ranked? I rank them according to what they did last year and what class they're in, and I changed this year. I used to always do it by giving them 1 to 6 points depending on their classification, but now we really have 11 classes because everything below 6A has Division I, Division II. So 6A is 11, 5A Division I is 10, and on down the line. So that's how the games are ranked. If a coach does not like a person or crew, is it customary to just make them happy, or is it a valid reason required? Well, I'm not going to send you if the coach doesn't want you. We got 92 schools. There's somewhere you can go. Are games reshuffled after the initial schedule based on perceived importance? If so, who makes that decision? No, regular season games are not reshuffled. I do them in the summer, and that's where they stay the whole year. If an official would like to work a certain school or schools, is that given any consideration? No, not unless you want to go work a school and the game is ranked below where you're ranked. I did it twice last year on my crew. I went and worked my daddy's alma mater at Granger. That was a game below where we were supposed to go. Are crews ranked, and if so, how is that determined? That's Marvell's job. I don't get into his job. He don't get into my job. I use his rankings and my rankings to do the schedule. That is it. I think I said that about 3 or 4 times every year. I'm done. Wait, scratches. I thought it was too. Scratches, we have scratches this year because one coach knows how the rankings are, and I know it wasn't very good last year, so I'm not getting the same quality I had last year, but can you not send me that crew again? One coach has scratched a crew because that referee, I don't feel like he listens to me. One coach scratched a crew this weekend and unscratched them today at about 4 o'clock because they acknowledged that they were wrong on Friday night. So that was the shortest scratch I can remember, 48 hours.
You know you mess up when you get scratched on the chain gang. Huh, Fred? All right, John, you got anything today?
I have started using the request a little bit more, especially late notice. However, if it's 2 hours later and you ask me to send you the 21 people that emailed me, text, or requested before you, I'm not cheating you, although I had someone tell me that today. So if you email me or text me or request it, I got a timestamp. But if you need a game, you haven't been getting games, you check your, we had one guy call me, his mileage was set at 0. So I have to take him and put him in this game. If you ain't getting enough games, call me, email me, find a game you want, and I'll throw you in there.
There you go, easy enough. Are you ready, Marva? Uh-oh. Rule number 1, be smarter than equipment. All right. Do you want the lapel or you want this?
I can take this. Can you hook me up? All right. I had another presentation prepared to work on, that I worked on and was going to do. I changed this one to something a little different that we don't normally talk about. It's almost forbidden for us to talk about it. It's not inverted whistles or anything, but you got it.
I don't know where this goes. It's not going in.
Hold on. No, this is not it. This is not, put it in the HDMI slot. Put it in the HDMI on the other side.
Do you have an HDMI?
Yes.
Why do you want this?
All right. Now, we're going to talk about how to get over mistakes and accidents. Yeah, we had quite a few, more this week than normal. I'm not going to talk about them, and I'm not going to discuss them. All right? So I'm just going to go over some things that help me get over some mistakes and accidents. Why? I can't see.
Do you need glasses?
Yeah. All right. Accidents versus mistakes. Getting over an accident or a mistake. Let's talk about accidents first. This is an accident. This is obviously an accident. I wish I could say nobody was hurt doing this photo shoot, but that can't be said neither. All right, so this is an accident. Let's talk about accidents here. The definition of an accident is an unfortunate incident that happens unexpectedly and unintentionally. Now, what can we do once you do have an accident or to help avoid accidents? Don't count on others. Do not count on others to avoid an accident. Don't get distracted. Communicate and use good mechanics. All right? That's some things you can do to help avoid an accident, is by communicating, using good mechanics. Don't get distracted, like coaches yelling in your ear, and don't count on others to do your job. Now, let's talk about mistakes. This is a mistake I made. I know you guys think I always put your mistakes up there. I made one in this game. Actually, there were some guys at the game who thought I didn't make a mistake. They thought it was a good call. And when I went to go grade it, we grade our own film, we look at it. When I went to go grade it, I was going, oh crap. So I didn't even know this was a mistake until the next day. So that's totally different than having a mistake that you know you made during the game. So these are going to be two different types of mistakes. This mistake happened, and I didn't know nothing about it until I reviewed the film. I thought I had the call right at the time. If you can see, I called a chop block on this guy and the running back. It's going to show you 3 angles. And if you see right here, let me get that pointer here. If you see right here, this guy is going low, and this guy is going high on him. So it appears to be a chop block from my angle. And we can all say, yeah, I'd have seen it in the game. Yeah, I know. Now, we're going to get it from another angle. And when I seen it from this angle, I was going, what? I couldn't even believe it. Now, here's the end zone angle. You see this guy hits him high. That's high contact right there. That's high. That part I did not see or did not translate in my brain as high contact because I seen the back. Now, everybody that was texting me, so nice chop block, Marv, great call, way to get that. This was what they seen on TV, was this guy low and this guy going high and he flipped over him. So that's what they saw. They saw the same angle I had. I had about, not exaggerating, about 10 or 15 texts. Not one person said I missed it. Not one. But you seen the end zone angle. So sometimes what you see is not what you really seen. Be careful. Now, how did I get over that mistake? And it was after the game. First of all, I owned up to it. I know it was a mistake. I had no problems with it. The problem I had was that I felt I didn't see the whole thing. And in the game, Mike asked me, did you see the whole thing? I said, yeah, I seen the whole thing. And I did, because there was a color change. I don't know if I talk to you guys. I always talk to you. When you have a color change, look at that color change. And there was a color change that got my attention. We'll go back just a little quick. And you can see he broke through. There's a color change. So it got my attention. And I made a mistake in throwing the flag and thinking it was a chop block. So when I owned up to it, to myself and to the crew, I apologize to them for making this mistake, because this could have been a very, very bad mistake. Luckily, it wasn't. It was 4th down. They didn't make the line of the game. They didn't score. If they would have scored and I made this call, it would have been a really big mistake. That would have been a big mistake. Okay, so they didn't score, but I was more concerned with, at the time, after I seen this, how did I miss it? I'm not caring about if they scored or not. How did I miss it? And honestly, to this day, I say I probably should have stayed off of it because I don't see the front side of everything. There's no way I could see everything that happened there. When Mike asked me, did I see everything? I did, but I really didn't see everything. I didn't see the front part of that. I just seen him hitting the back part. So that's what I learned from there. Now, let's talk about mistakes. Mistakes is the definition of an action or judgment that is misguided or wrong. I was wrong. Mistakes are poor choices that lead to poor results. It was a poor judgment and it was poor results. I got an IC. Deservingly so. How do we avoid the mistakes? Give full attention to what you're doing. You know what I mean? When you go out to the game, you might have problems on the way to the game, traffic, this and that. You have to let all that go and worry about what's in front of you. Ask questions. Something happens on the field, you got to ask questions. Just ask, what happened? We had a play, and I didn't know what happened downfield after we got to talking about it, same game. I said, oh, we got to do this. The whole crew is going, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Know your role. If everybody knows their role, everybody said put in 100%. If you got a 5-man crew, you got to put in 500%. Everybody has to put in 100. You got a 7-man crew, you got to put in 700%. Everybody has to put in 100. Do not divide that 100% up. Because if you divide 5 into the 100, that's 20%. So everybody put in 20%, you know what that game would look like? Everybody put in 100%. Know your role. Give good information. I tell you what, garbage in, garbage out. You give bad information, there's going to be something bad happen. All right, everybody knows we made this mistake if you're on a TV. Oh, somebody's coming. That's a crewmate calling. That's their ringtone. So anyway, here we can say what happened on the field. I think what we did on the field was correct. And this is why I'm showing you this. It was correct what we did on the field. What we did on the field was correct. Because if you don't know for sure, do not give up points. Do not give up points if you don't know for sure. Is it ready? The lapel?
Yeah, your voice just keeps coming out.
It's not my voice, it's the mic.
Oh, it's the mic?
This is my favorite part of the meeting. Hey,
Do you have a pocket?
Yeah, I have a
You
pocket.
could put- you could put this in
That's
the
not a
pocket.
gun. All right. All right, here we go. All right. All right. Let me explain what happens on the field. You guys are not using replay. What happened on the field was correct. This ball was snapped at the 7-yard line. This ball was snapped at the 7-yard line. Our head linesman is supposed to go back and retrieve to the goal line and rule on it. Mind you, even the fastest guy get there, and he has to make a ruling with his head bobbing, and he's not sure if it's a safety or not, put it in the field of play. So when he put it on the half-yard line, I'm not a rocket science, but I knew he didn't know what he had. I mean, and everybody in here has guessed, and we all have guessed wrong, and we have all thought we were right and we were wrong, because we're human. Yes.
Just adjusting it.
Oh, you adjusted it? Oh. Hey, man, I'm not running for president, so I ain't worried about it. I ain't running for governor. Jeez. Yeah. Hey, I don't care. All right, now we can see, I'm not going to go into the process of what happened here or what didn't happen. But you obviously know a mistake was made. Now, we're going to talk about a mistake at the game site where these guys found out 4 plays later they made a mistake. A mistake and an error that gave a team or should have gave a team points. Now, how big is that? I almost made a mistake where team, if they would have got points, I'd have took them off. It would have been just like this, but I didn't know until the next day. These guys know 4 plays later. 4 plays later. And I'm not trying to save these guys or badmouth them. They have a tough job. And if you think it's easy because you stayed at home and with your remote didn't, oh, that's obvious. Wait till they put this timer in front of you and you expected to have a decision in 2 minutes and you could hear them in the booth talking about 1:30, 1:30. I'm thinking, man, get a decision. I don't care how long it takes. Goes back to what I said earlier this year in the meeting. There's 4 times you take your time. 4 times you take your time. When you're going to give a team change of possession. When you're going to award a score. When you're going to DQ somebody. And that's the 4th one. Can't even think of the 4th one now. But it's 4 times. You have to take your time. DQ with somebody, go talk to somebody. You're going to award a score, take your time. Change of possession, taking your time. Oh, and when you're going to end a half or a game. If you're going to end the game because there was time or not time, take your time. Or you're going to end a half, take your time. So if you're going to end the game, change of possession, DQ somebody, or award a score, take your time. I know it feels like you're out there forever. Throw that forever out the book and just say, hey, somebody be the calm matter and say, hey, it don't matter how long it takes, just take our time, let's get it right. And you might take your time and get it wrong. But at least if you take your time and get it wrong, the coaches can say you talked about it. Then coming up together 2 seconds later and you get it wrong. Didn't even take enough time. You guys rushed. There can always be that doubt. All right. Sometimes some of these things help you avoid accidents and mistakes. An accident can lead to a mistake, and a mistake can cause an accident. Now, we just had a photo of that first accident we had. We don't know if he was texting. We don't know if he had a little bit. We don't know what he was looking at. He might have been looking at another deer, if you know what I mean. Distracted. Avoiding accidents and mistakes are impossible. They're just impossible. We're human. You have to remember we are human. We're going to make mistakes. It's impossible to avoid them. You have to get past them. The best way to get past it to me is acknowledge it. Acknowledge you made the mistake. Some people have to go back and say they're sorry. Sometimes you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I did this and I should have did that. Acknowledge it. Look back and learn from it, but don't stare at it. Look back and learn from it. Don't stare at it. Don't keep staring at it. That mistake ain't going to fix itself. You got an accident, yeah, you can call farmers or whoever you have, some third-rate cut insurance, and hey, they'll fix you up. But don't stare at it. Go on. Move on. I know it's not easy to move on, especially when you think you made a mistake on the field. Or even in life, you think it's tough to move on. Keep going. Move on. I mean, I know it's hard. Sometimes you have to call a friend. You do what you have to do to move on. And then hopefully your friend is honest with you and say, yeah, you made a mistake, but let's go on. What did you learn from it? Remember, the most important thing about that mistake is the next play. Because if you're thinking about that mistake, you're going to be making more mistakes down the way. If you guys remember, I don't care what nobody says. There was a bowl game a couple of years ago where they had an inverted whistle doing a kick, and they misenforced that rule. About a quarter later, they had another rule they misenforced. I really believe if they weren't thinking about that first mistake, they wouldn't have made that second one. I really believe it. So That's all I have to say. Get over these mistakes. Nobody lost a limb or life except in the accident. And but go on. That's all I'm done with it. Next. Yes.
So you all found out about 4 plays later that it was a safety?
Yes.
How did that affect the crew?
It didn't affect the crew. We didn't know. The people in the booth knew.
Oh, they didn't tell you.
Boy, if they'd have came down and told us we made a mistake on the field, I'd have been hot. I'd have been hot. You don't tell. They knew it, but during that game, the gentleman in the booth, one guy, he's so calm and smooth. He just said, well, shit, what can we do? He was experienced.
Marvell, what did you guys see on the field?
He was in the field of play. What do you think we ruled?
No, during the review process.
I'm just playing, huh?
During the review process, what did you guys see that,
I didn't see the review until afterwards.
what was happening during the review process that allowed you guys to?
Okay, what I do is I talk to my umpire. We says if it's a safety, we're going to have a safety kick from the 20. If it's not, we're going to be here and it's 3rd down. We discuss what's going to happen if it's going to be overturned, and if it's not, what do we have? We know we're going to have a ready for play, and we're going to have 25 on the play clock. So we discuss what's going to happen next.
But I guess my question is, how did you guys come to the conclusion to put it at the 1.5 yard line?
Oh, okay. Again, if the line judge, or excuse me, the head lineman did not know if it was a safety or not. So if you don't know if it's a safety or not, put it in the field of play. You don't want to give somebody points and not knowing for sure. You understand what I'm talking about? Yeah, if you don't know for sure, you don't award 2 points or award a touchdown if you don't know for sure. Because if you look at it, it is better off to say, okay, it was a safety, but we have him at the half-yard line, than said he was at the half-yard line and we awarded 2 points they should have never got. Huh? They reviewed it. Oh, yeah, they reviewed it. But, hey, we're human. Go ahead, Pete. You want me to put this on you, Pete?
No.
Okay.
That's all how
Here, well, there's going to be 2, so one can have the mic and one can have the lapel.
Are you gonna put it on him?
No, I ain't putting it on you.
You gotta take the thing out of your pocket.
Oh, that's not a thing in my pocket.
There's another one. Say something.
Hello? All right. All right, guys. Well, this is going to be a little ad hoc. We had originally planned to break out the 7-man crews to talk about specifically the tandem mechanics between the wing guys and the deep guys. So referees and umpires, you can cover your ears or you can just pay attention and learn how officiating really works. So just one last thing I'll comment on Marvell's topic. One of the things that we use in our crew when there was a mistake on the field is we acknowledged that any mistake on the field is going to be a crew mistake. An individual official can make that mistake, but it's the crew that's going to have to deal with it. And so the keys that we use whenever we know any one of us made a mistake on it is that we would communicate. We would get with them and make sure that their head was in the game. And the words that we always use was turn the page. If you ever heard turn the page out of one of us means just jack something up. But turn the page means it's time to move on. As Marvell said, I mean, the last thing you want to do is make that mistake turn into 2, 3, or 4 more mistakes. And we've seen it. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen us lose an official for an entire series after an inadvertent whistle or a missed call or whatever. You can just see he's just distracted. And what you really need to do as a crew
is to get around that guy and get around that, and talk him through it and get him to move on. Okay. All right, that's all I'll add to that. So Ed's going to help me with this guy. And these are just, we don't want to spend a whole lot of time just talking on these words. And I don't have, again, it was meant to be a smaller crew, so we were ultimately just going to roll through plays and just walk through coverages and keys, which is mostly what we're going to do once we get on film. But before we get going, come on, Ed, you got to step out here, buddy.
I may not need this.
And so the first one we have, Ed, really the genesis of this session, started with Ed in one of our meetings. He wanted to talk about, the ideas of keys and areas of responsibility and how they shift. So I'll turn that over to Ed.
Well, first of all, let's take the word keys off of here. We're going to start using some new language.
If you're going to hold the microphone, you need to butt by your mouth.
You don't like that.
No, you need to hold the microphone up.
We're going to move this to where it is today versus where it were not experienced yesterday. And we've got to understand why and how we ever got the word keys in the book. Well, the keys started because that was an ideal way for you as a head linesman, line judge, or any other position to get pre-notice of what this particular team is going to do. You had designated keys. They were easy because everything was played inside the hash marks. You never saw a field back when that the grass was dead outside the hash marks, always inside. As long as you were that tight, you had necessary keys that gave you a direction that you may anticipate a play. Now let's move it to the current time. Those keys are useless. Pass blocking today is no different than run blocking today. So there in and of itself is no necessity for a key per se. Offenses that are run today are totally different than what we experienced years ago when we used the word keys. Today you're spread all over the field. The best way to understand is why they spread you all over the field, or why they run an offense all over the field. It's ideal because the farther they spread their defense out, that means less physical blocking by the receiver stepping outside all the way to the sideline practically. They have accomplished their block. They brought a defender with them. That has nothing to do with what you're doing, other than it has put into play a part of the game that we never anticipated. You never anticipated to be spread all over this football field. And the effect of that has caused us to slow down as officials, to see without moving. What we're going to talk about today is the effect upon you as an official when they have gone to this kind and type of offense, where they split trip receivers or they overload receivers to one side, has created a real nightmare. Because one, we didn't start addressing this problem quick enough. We're 3 years behind it. And the mistakes we're making today are not easy to correct. They're very difficult. It is the most difficult part of the game today as an official. And here's why. It spreads you to the point of knowing what your responsibility is first. Secondly, and we're going to use some terms that are going to be a little bit different and substitute them for the word keys. If I am the head linesman and they bring a receiver to my sideline, or I am the side judge and they bring a receiver to my sideline, we're talking about 7-man crews only. My responsibility is that widest receiver. Now, he is no key to me, no key. But he is my responsibility. The word we're going to substitute for the word key is primary responsibly. Responsible for that man right there. What you will see with that man right there is the defender will dictate how long I have to look at him as a primary responsibility. We're going to use the words press. We're going to use the word zones. We're going to use the word areas. And we're going to use the word threatened of my responsibilities. Press. What is a press? Well, I'm sure most of you know. It's where that defender is within 3 or 4 yards of that primary responsibility of a receiver. So, prior to the snap, if he's your primary responsibility, you need to be head up with him. You need to watch him at the snap, because that's first contact. If that defender is sitting off 7 or 8 yards, you have a moment that you do not have to concentrate so much on him until he becomes threatened. Now, right there in and of itself is a difficult thing, because when am I looking elsewhere? And when do I look elsewhere? Because you're going to have to as this play develops. Because what started out as your primary receiver may no longer be your responsibility. That receiver may, one, have a defender sitting off. He takes immediate route toward the middle of the field. He's left you. He now becomes the responsibility of someone else. Well, what's my responsibility? My responsibility is that vacated area where nothing has happened. I'm going to look to there to see what's ready to happen. And how do I see it? When do I hone in on another receiver that did not start as my primary receiver? When they get close and they're threatened by a defender. Well, what if I don't have anyone threatened? Look for somebody. Well, how do I see them? When they get close to that receiver, when they threaten that receiver. He's going to show you all this, and I'm going to verbally go through it, but then you're going to see it. And the difficult point is this, and the mistake we make. We stay with our primary receiver and don't look for anything else. There's where we're making our mistake. You may not even know that's happening, but it damn sure is. It is. So, let's take it in the sequence of this type of formation. And then we're going to discuss, or I'm going to bring to your attention the most difficult formation. One, if they overload one side with 2 receivers, one sits on the sideline, one sits inside. The side judge, field judge, has the guy farthest out. In this case, the back judge will have the next guy in if there's 2. And if they're the strong side, that's who he's going to be looking at. Now let's set 3 of them out there. What do? Side judge, field judge has the widest one. Back judge has the one closest to the line, toward the center of the field. And the head linesman, line judge, has his second guy in. Now, at the snap, only one of these 3 is threatened or pressed. And let's take it the second guy in. If I am sitting there as the head linesman, I'm going to be looking at that as my primary responsibility. If I am the back judge, I'm going to be looking and my defender sitting 7 or 8 yards off. Why should I hone in on him when I could watch the offensive tackle? That's first contact. My man's not. If I am the head linesman, I'm going to be looking at the second guy in. Now let's run this play. So here's the bugaboo. And it's called a slip screen. What happens, and I'm going to use this specifically as the example, it's 20% of the game now is run with this offense. That's why we need to concentrate more and develop ourselves to learn what we have to do. And that's not stay with your primary responsibility throughout the play. There's our mistake. I'm going to keep emphasizing that. In the case of the lateral pass, backward, and I start out as a side judge, and my man is threatened, I'm going to stay with him because there's first possible physical contact. But in this case, that receiver steps behind the line of scrimmage and he receives the pass. Now, whose responsibility does he become? Still me, the side judge? I don't know whether he's behind or beyond the line of scrimmage. I'm 20 yards downfield. Once he steps back and that pass comes that way, he becomes the responsibility of the head linesman, line judge, as to whether this pass is backward, behind the line, or forward, beyond. We now have a switch of responsibilities automatically, right here. And this guy that had him before has a receiver come and goes down the sideline, namely the side judge or the field judge. Who takes him? Side judge, field judge. They have now new responsibilities. All this is now happening at the snap. So we can see where problems begin to develop. Because the mistake we make, if I'm standing here with one responsibility, and this play develops, and I'm the head linesman, and my man goes downfield, the worst thing I could do is look at him. My responsibility becomes the man right in front of me, who's just catching this football behind or beyond the line of scrimmage. And let's say it is behind. No problem. But this guy downfield, the back judge, has no idea whether it's called beyond or behind because of depth perception. And he has a block. 7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, his man comes down and blocks. He sees the block, that's my primary responsibility. But where's this football? He has no idea. So I'm going to relent and say there is a need for a hand signal. And I'm the one that's preached all along, I don't like this, and I don't like this or this. You look like a third base coach. We're not coaching third base. We're officiating a football game. Here's where you, the head linesman in this play, who has switched now to the men catching this football, must do something to help him, to tell him it is or is not behind the line of scrimmage, because he most likely is going to have that block downfield. If it's backwards, I suggest you do nothing. It's a backward pass. Okay? Some people would say, yeah, go ahead and pump it back. Well, I've seen too many times where, I'm pumping back. No, you're not pumping back, you're pumping forward. So one signal to tell one thing of real importance. The important thing is to communicate this ball was caught beyond. There's where the foul will occur. Not because he caught it back here. Everything's legal. But if you will do this on a ball under this circumstance, it's caught beyond. And again, this is not something new that they're running. This is 20% of the football game. This play right here, the lateral passes. If you will simply pump it out, that yes, this ball was caught beyond, because that's your responsibility right there. You have indicated some help to this back judge who sees this block, or the side judge, or the field judge. This ball is beyond. Oh, well, I have a block. Boom, I got a flag. That is better than doing nothing throughout. Let this place go, and this guys go 70 yards for a touchdown, and y'all come back and decide to communicate. And he said, oh, yeah, it was called beyond. Oh, here's a flag. No. That doesn't look very good, gentlemen. Be ahead of it. And this is a way you can get ahead of it. You also may help these deep guys if you don't stay diagonally to the field of play, but as this guy moves back, step back with him a couple of yards and take about a 15-degree turn. This way you may be able to see through the reception and to the block, and you both know, one, it is caught beyond the line of scrimmage, and by looking through, you see the block, you may throw the flag too. Now, these things are happening a lot quicker than I'm explaining them, as you well know. Then we have to go to what's called the threatened area, and I'm almost through. But he's going to put all this on the film. You're going to see it in action. This is a difficult part of the football game that we are not officiating correctly. We're lucky we've been able to get by with a lot of it. But too many people are still looking at the same thing. Here's where you change. If I have a change that occurs as we just described, or on any pass route, where my primary receiver moves to another area, he's out of my responsibility. I don't have to worry about him. I'm looking around for something else. I'm looking at the area in the zone that's empty without any threats at this moment. If my receiver is not being threatened, I'm looking for one that will become threatened. And this is hard to do, to switch off. Threaten meaning that if he is in proximity of that receiver where they may make contact, that's who you got to pick up. I don't care where he is, who he is, or what he is. Once he gets in that area and threatened by a defender, pressed close, that's when I need to be looking at him. You may see someone threatened, yet they're still 10 yards apart. But if that safety man has got his eye on that receiver that's coming this way and he starts here, you better get ready, because there's where you're going to see the contact, if thrown. It also puts you in a better position to rule on the interference call, that you can be in a better position by moving around in that zone, looking for things that may happen. Now, I didn't say they had happened, I said may happen, because now you're looking ahead of the play. And ideally, you want to see the contact if it occurs. Then I want to find the football, not the reverse. You can't have interference until you know that football's in the air, but I want to see the contact first, then I want to see where this football is. And he must, to be interference, has to do something that affects that receiver's inability to catch this pass. Just touching each other is not it. Just doing this at each other is not it. Pulling that arm down is. But if he's holding here and he reaches both hands up, he has not been infringed in any way from the opportunity to catch. That's a tough call. So, that's it in a nutshell. But this is a very, we should have had this last year. We should have had this. And if we knew what it was going to be like 7 years ago, we should have been talking about it then and not now. Now we've let the horse out of the barn. And it's hard to learn and catch up. If we had grown with it, it's a lot easier. But we didn't. It took me 20 years and I still didn't know what the hell they were talking about, until I got at a level where this was being done. And boy, it shocked me, I'll tell you. And it's shocking to you when you see some of these films of what is taking place. So, I think that's it.
Okay.
See, I didn't even need the notes. But don't look at that. Every time he says key, y'all boo. But let's take that out. Let's go some fresh language. Let's start some new thinking, because this is all new thinking. You may think you're doing a hell of a job. Believe me, you're not.
Okay.
I've seen guys take receivers all the way across the field and they didn't make that switch and change what you have to do.
All right, so let's, let me talk about one thing that I agree with Ed said. I mean, from coverage, switching, the press, and where your eyes need to be. The one thing that I will talk about a little bit, he talked about when the receiver is downfield, I mean, what signals we give. I can tell you, I'm more of a proponent of being a wing guy, and this is the way we did in the Sun Belt and the SEC, is that we always marked passes behind the line of scrimmage. We did mark them if they were backwards and behind the line of scrimmage, and we did mark them forward behind the line of scrimmage. And that way, it always was the case, if there was a pass that was touched behind the line of scrimmage, we had a signal, and we hung it on the line judge. Because the line judge in the latest mechanics is the one that's holding line of scrimmage. So he's guaranteed to be on the line of scrimmage when the pass is thrown, okay? And I will also tell you this, if you're a side judge or a field judge or a back judge and you're looking to the line judge whether that ball is caught on the line of scrimmage, you're going to miss something. Don't look there, right? I can also tell you that really the fact that, I mean, that signal is really more for keying that line judge, A, to remember after the play, I ruled it behind the line of scrimmage so that when we come back and we talk about it, he doesn't brain fart. It also is a key for the coaches and the evaluators to know that we ruled the thing backwards, and when we get together, we've made the decision that ball's behind the line of scrimmage, and we'll wipe off OPIs and DPIs, and we'll wipe off linemen downfield. Yeah.
So we've got two evaluators on stage. One telling us to pump back, and one telling us not to. So now we get into a game situation.
Now, what I will tell you on that very specific point is that what you need as a crew is to know whether the ball is behind the line of scrimmage or beyond the line of scrimmage. And if you as a crew want to follow Ed's advice and say, I want to pump him downfield, then you better as a crew do that consistently and get the fucking call right. If you do it the way I'm described, you just get the call right. All we're really saying is these signals are for getting the call right. And again, and if I'm observing, I will say, I saw you pumping downfield on passes near the sideline. Are you doing it and if I see you doing it every time, I know, and I'm not gonna give you a whole lot of crap as an observer. But if I see you every so often do it and not do it other times, then that's gonna be a problem, because again, if you're gonna use these signals, you got to use them consistently, and you have to do them every time. I mean, halfway doesn't help. Okay, all that does is confuse people, confuses coaches. Okay, is that? Okay, so all the signaling really is about getting the call right. So just as long as you as a crew know what they mean, we'll be good with it either way. Okay? All right, so there's a few other things I just want through here really quick. I mean, and we walked through a lot of these under my line of scrimmage stuff. But these are just, mechanics specifically and I will tell you, this is a little bit driven by what I see when I evaluate. Okay, wings on the spots, goal line into two. Right? Just because you got a deep guy as a wing guy doesn't mean that you give up spots. Okay? I don't want to see any wing guys thinking that the deep guys get their spots. My deep guys don't get on my spots. I kick them off. Okay, unless we get to the two. And then it just pisses me off. I have to give them to them in there. Okay? And the deal is deeps need to maintain cushion. There is no getting beat deep. There's no excuse for getting beat deep. I will tell you that, at least in our evaluations, our deep guys get yelled at all the time by, again, have you lost cushion? If when the ball comes into play, caught or down, and if you're any less than 5 yards deeper than the play, you've gotten beat. Okay? If they come up equal to where you are, you've gotten beat. If the play is beyond you as a deep guy, you've gotten beat really badly, and it's a downgrade. Okay, that's kind of how our evaluators go, right? And again, you're going to get beat every so often. Ball snap on the near 5, and they break 95. You might get beat. Okay, but you got a 20 to 22 yard head start on these guys. You just have to have game awareness and get going. Okay, but that's also why you're not getting spots from your wings, because you're always bailing out, okay? And we'll talk about then the accordion dead ball movement. I'll show you that on film, that, again, just because you're bailing out doesn't mean you come back to get into dead ball and applying presence to around the dead ball, okay? Plays at the sideline, I'm also seeing this. Even though the deep guys are bailing out, and you may be pushed out because you got receiver, but then you get that ball that comes underneath. Wing guys are coming up on it, but we're coming up on spots. I say we as a wing guy. Deep guys have got to come down and maybe even out of bounds to pick up all that crap out there, right? And then we should be getting support inside. Deep guys coming outside, we're holding spots, right? And if it comes to really bad stuff, we'll drop beanbags and go out there and help. But we're going to try to hold spots on the sideline as long as we can as a wing, and the deep guys can come up. Okay, coordinate ball mechanics. I think it's a lost art, and probably because your ball boys are so damn bad, and I've actually worked a few games and they are that damn bad. But, we should have the mindset, if the ball comes in the side zone as a wing guy, or even a deep guy, the ball gets put down on the ground. Okay, and then we try to get a new ball in from the sideline. If your ball boys are that bad, I would almost rather see you put the ball down, look for the ball. If it's not there, then pitch it in. Get into the idea that, because I will tell you, it looks a whole lot better if we're spotting footballs at the umpire position on footballs rather than on feet in anything in the side zone. Okay, it becomes a mindset, and and again, if we can get to our ball boys and train them better, that will be a good thing for us. Okay, and then communicate. I mean, like I said, these are just a list of some things. So let me get into some film. Let's see. Where am I? They're over here. Okay, I like to use this guy. Okay, so this is an 8-man crew, and this is, you know, you can see everyone's working wide to start. And really the play that I'll just point out here is as it develops, okay, this is the accordion action, okay? Notice how, and this is what I preach and this is what I prefer, that the wing guys, you know, just, you know, again, the ball's between the hashes, again, garden variety run play. You can see how the closure of the crew. You can see, I mean, and I work with a jackrabbit referee. I mean, you see the referees actually in the mix, umpires, you know, digging out, and the center judge. They're all in the mix of the players. But out on the periphery, head linesman, line judge coming to the bottom of the numbers, and we're closing there. Okay, you can see that the side judge and field judge taking 45s to the numbers. Okay, you can see even the back judge coming up to the numbers. Now I say, you know, if we ran a deep play and they flush these guys out, they're still, I mean, they're gonna keep maintaining their cushion. But when it dies, they're gonna 45 back. Okay, because again, we're just trying to provide, you know, presence. You know, you don't want to run past players and ignore players behind you in this accordion. But again, when everything's in front of you, this is just the normal rhythm of the game. Come in, come out. Now, again, you've heard me say, you know, when I'm observing, you know, if one guy closes to here, I think the other guy should be closing to about there, right? If we go, you know, far side of the field, I mean, even taking a few steps in just to create presence on the backside is okay. Okay, I just have I mean, our crews did it, and I think it adds presence and keeps you out of trouble and keeps the kids out of trouble, and it gives you a better opportunity for preventive officiating.
Pete, can you run it back where they set the offense before the snap here?
I sure can.
Point out stress versus not stressed on this line of scrimmage. Yeah, this right there. We got one receiver stressed. Right up here. He's being pressed at the line of scrimmage. Responsibility, side judge. These guys are not pressed. So what's the necessity to watch this until action possibly occurs right in here? So you can be looking in here. You can look at the tight end if there is one, or this guy goes across. You can be helping everybody on that area in that zone. But there's only one guy on this balanced offensive receivers that has a threat at the time the ball is snapped. That's that one right at the top.
And then as it developed, again, it was really just a run play that developed, right? Now, the other thing is, as Ed said, I mean, you know, as you watch your area of primary area of responsibility, what happens if that guy goes straight down? Even though he's not pressed, if he takes his action and he goes straight down, what do you need to do? That's an action that you got to watch, right? I mean, so even if they're not pressed, you have to watch the action that the receiver is going to do. Now, in the case of, you know, these guys here in the backfield, you know, because those are predominantly going to be wings, you know, what's the action you're going to be careful to track them a little longer if, you know, for more, you know, if as the play develops. If they loop and come in and try to, you know, pick off linebackers, right? That's where you're going to get that, you know, block below the waist that could be illegal. Okay, so the actions of those players as well as press is also things you have to stay on players and watch them through and make sure you stay with them. All right, so I was going to switch to a different game because, and again, I didn't really cut these plays. This is one offense that tends to run just a varied number of formations. Which one is it? It's next week. What week am I in? Okay, here's where we start with trips. Ed, you want to walk it through?
Anybody pressed? Anybody pressed at the line of scrimmage? No. Watch what happens.
But where's strength on this one? At the trips, right? So in the initial areas of responsibility, we're going to have back judge here, wing guy on 3, and then, of course, the wide guys always have 1. No mystery. Okay, now what just happened?
Which side's overloaded? This side.
Right. So as we shift out of that thing, right, I mean, as we deal with our areas of responsibility, it's snapshot at the snap, right? So we're not worried about motion and who's in motion anymore. It's whoever, where they are when we snap the football. Now, in this case, they set. Okay, but again, now, to Ed's point, now, though, if we're paying attention, we didn't see any of the guys on the bottom here move, but who's now pressed? So the guy up top. So the field judge at the top needs to go earn his money. Maybe. Okay. Okay, so now, are we in our primary keys anymore? What's happened now? We got to be in zone now, right? Because we haven't had any action that really has taken us off our keys. Now, in the case, let's talk about that. We talked about the field judge over here. Does anybody have a laser? I didn't bring one. Okay, we talked to field judge over here. I mean, he had that one, which I'm not sure which way he went, but essentially he's got to carry the guy that's going deep now, right? Because that's going to be his. The bottom third now has to be, the line judge up there. Okay, now down here, headlines is going to be in this area, and we're going to be probably side judge here, back judge in the middle, right? Generally speaking.
And this guy here does not have to pay a whole lot of attention to what's not being threatened. He can help in here now.
Right. Now, the other interesting thing about wing guys is that if we're not sitting on a whole lot of action in our area, that's when we can come up and look at the edge on the tackle. Now, in an 8-man crew, we've been relieved of that a lot, but in a 7-man crew, you're still going to need help back on those tackles. Okay? I loved it when we went to 8-man because I didn't have to worry about that anymore. But in 7-man crews, we do have to worry about those tackles because the referee, generally speaking, is going to be taking the tackle across the other side from the quarterback. So that way he can look through the quarterback, see the tackle on the other side. So if that's the referee right there, really, we're kind of tasking the line judge to get it. But in the case of nothing in the area, he can help. Okay? As we stretch the field, where's the football go? Just snap the ball. I say that every night. Okay, again, so you can see the back pedal action of my deep guy there, right? I mean, even as this play is coming to a close, he's backing out. Now, if we played this long enough, you'd also see him retreating coming back on closure, okay, which I don't think we will.
Who's got number 6 and 45 right here? That was not the primary responsibility of how it started. This is how all the change took place. Because the deep guy's got this guy over here deep. Now this guy on line of scrimmage, you got to come inside and take this.
Yep. Yep. Line judge on this side, if he's paying attention. And I know that line judge, he probably wasn't.
Came out of the back, 45 came out, walked out of the backfield to that wide slot position.
This right here. 6 and 45. Deep guy's got that guy up there. See the safety man, see the defensive Don't go to sleep about this guy up here. The purpose of this offense is to do what? I want to get a mismatch. I want to get single coverage on that wide receiver on the other side, and that's exactly what he's got here. And what you're going to see how he's pressed at the line of scrimmage? Don't go to sleep on that guy. Don't rest, because that's the purpose of that play right there. I want to get a mismatch. I want to get a 6'5" or a 5'4" cornerback, and he'll probably go deep.
Okay, so let's watch the action as we come off the line. Okay, so again, primary responsibilities, we're going to have back judge here and then wing guy here, right? Hey, that means I'm not an old dog. Okay, so you can see with these guys, they're all breaking short, right? And they got a little bit of company with them. Okay, just straight thing over the middle. That's probably one of the hardest plays to have though, right? Because it's kind of right over the middle. He started over here and then crossed over there. Right, so and it was his primary responsibility, but now we moved all the way to the opposite hash. That's a long way to call if we would have any accident or DPI. So we're going to have help, top side, short, possibly long, long over here, possibly, but probably not. Right? It's probably going to be the headlinesman line judge. You got to hang with those.
This is an ideal setup for what they call the pick. This guy here that came out of the slot now, you just picked off number 5, and they sent the other guy over there from the place he left. So you want to be watching in case he blocks down the field. And whose responsibility is that guy right there, sitting here at the 15-yard line? This deep guy. And the side guy's got him. So he's going to see that block, but now he's had to switch responsibilities from the wide guy to the slot guy after the snap. This is like a chess game with all the pieces moving at one time. Like what it amounts to.
Yeah, the same play with the wide view. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so where are all my eligibles here? Yeah, tight end in the bottom. So this is a balanced formation, right? Two at the top, two at the bottom. One back, right? So which way is the back judge going? Well, yeah. Yeah. Except that we're line judge at the top. That's fine. But yes, we'd be going away from the sticks, right? So be a tight end as a primary responsibility, right? Now it kind of makes a difference too, though, when you're reading it, right? Because now, how is this guy? What's that look now, right? As a primary responsibility, and that and back judge is going to be on that. What if that now that tight end has the possibility not just in pass coverage, right? I mean, he could hold, he could hook, he could do all kinds of bad stuff, right?
Chop block.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where you might see that back judge launch that thing from 25 yards away, right? And he has to have a little bit different mindset now of what he's looking for when he sees that play. What am I stopped? Okay, so we got motion here, right? Does that change any responsibilities given this motion? Nothing, right? Again, snapshot at the time. It used to be that back in motion, the back judge picked them up, right? But not anymore. Now it's snapshot at the snap. Okay, so that was really not any kind of change. Though the one caveat is that the wing guy here is going to make sure he doesn't turn up early, right? That's probably the guy that's going to get that. Okay, so let's watch the action on the top. Okay, again, primary responsibility for the wide guy is going to be the field judge up there, or the side judge. But then what happens?
Boom.
Okay, we just did a swap, right? There's no way now that we can stay with keys. That has to be now a zone read. We just transitioned out. So now, line judge at the top has got to, stay with the short action. But as Ed said, short action even, we got one guy just standing there. So there's really not a whole lot, to pay attention to. So really, we ought to be back looking at this action here, seeing that guy's getting mugged from a wing position. Deep guy's got to go, right? Because now they're flushing out here, so the deep guy's got to be heading out. Yeah, he came in and sat, right? Where'd he come from? Oh, he came from the backfield, right? Okay.
See how wide open this guy is? Oh, he's not threatened right now by anyone, by no one. So you can be helping with this or anything else
Yeah.
until it starts closing in.
The defensive coordinator is really concerned that he's wide open like that too. All right, so let's. Yeah, wing guys, we're picking them when they're that short.
All right, I got a question for you, Pete. See this line judge right here, or line judge?
Yep.
See where he is? And this is where he started, the 10-yard line. Would you say that it's not necessary for him to be all the way down there?
Well, at this point, he's tracking the forward progress spot.
Okay.
So yes.
As is he.
But to your point, let's go back,
Yeah.
because I know that line judge.
See if he leaves too soon.
Yeah, see, line judge is holding the line of scrimmage because he has to hold the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Right? We get pass caught.
There he goes.
Right, and once he sees possession, that's when he leaves. Right.
Yeah.
Actually, pretty good job, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Not bad.
I know that line judge.
That's not bad.
Okay. How much more of this can we take?
The ideal way to watch some of this stuff and you get some better idea is look away from the ball. Look away from the receiver that's catching the ball. Look what's going all the way around him and what these other officials are doing.
All right, clearly they like trips at the bottom. But now we're looking at, so if you're a wing guy at the top, what are you saying? Cool, I don't have a key. Right, you got to be wary of the back out of the backfield, and now you do well. Yeah, and you have to be wary of your tackle, right? Until you see action in your area. Okay, on the bottom again, we're running trips. We got no press, right? So at this point, you're probably taking a little bit broader view of life. Again, on the top, looks like we do have a tight end up there, right? And he's covered by a defensive end.
There is a play that we have not mentioned that they run off of this, and they will send both of these guys into here and draw these two backs in, because this linebacker's probably watching him, and then they'll drag this one underneath. What you have to look for is when they come across, they want to shield off these defenders to get this guy open. And a lot of times, if you're not watching them, you're going to see contact. They do it very, very well. It's just like a pick in basketball, and they get within this far from each other to accomplish it. But you got to see that, because there is a threatened situation right there. And there it is. See where he came out behind him?
We just ran it the other way, didn't we? Okay, and again, I just point out, again, running play, we gained, just a few yards. Actually, then if we get a big drive back here, right? But you see the help coming, right? You see our guys reacting here. You'll see our guys on the backside coming up. But, look at the deep guy. Come from a long way away to support this dead ball situation. Okay, and that's, again, I can't stress enough, closure into dead ball. Don't leave players behind. Don't let them get behind you. But, presence to the middle is an important thing, and presence to and reaction to dead ball. All right. Let's get to the wide view right away. Okay, so they start out kind of bunched and meandering, right? And then they shift.
Yeah, they're all threatened now.
Okay. Just as an aside, if they snap the football right now, what do we got? It's not a trick. It's not that much of a trick question. If they snap the football right now, what do they got? It's a false start, right? We had a shift in which nobody got set, right? And they snap the football. We have to turn that illegal shift into a false start. It wasn't meant to be a trick question. Okay. Yes, Coach, I get it. All right, so they get out there and get set like they're supposed to. Okay. And again, probably, I'm not going to call it, I'm pretty sure. In this case, earlier we're probably still warning, in the warning time. But yes, that certainly would be something we're probably starting to communicate about that tackle. We call them leaking oil, get them fixed. Okay, so again, where's our trouble spots here, at least initially? Kind of all of them in the bottom there.
All
right?
of them. Everyone who's the primary responsibility, your man is being pressed right now. So whomever you've got prior to the snap, that's who you're going to be watching at the time the ball snaps, because they're closely pressed.
But I tell you what, at the end of the day, too, this is one of those beautiful things, right? Because wide guys are here, back judge here, wing guys here, right? They're all there, and we all got an assignment. There's nothing ambiguous about this, right? We kind of like this formation, right? I mean, I get to feel like a wing guy, or a deep guy. Look, I know who I got. Yes, sir.
On the 5-man crew.
Oh, we're not going to talk about it. They're lost. They can't. There's no way.
Okay,
you
no,
can
go ahead. What?
Just forget about it and go home. That's it. You can't do it. It's impossible.
Okay, what's the question?
He wants to know about a 5-man crew.
5-man crew, who's got it?
Well, the God's honest answer right now is that you go in the zone so damn fast.
You do this.
Yeah, and it's a rock, paper, scissors thing. But I would say, and really, because we live here, the wing guys have got to own, their third all the way up the field. Wing guy's got this wing guy's here, and the back judge has got to has to flow to action. That's really about the only way to cover it. I mean, there's really no other choice, right? And even in the case now with the 7-man crew, right? I mean, we got a bunch of crap going on here, right? So line judge has got to be in this with the deep guy, right? This is, he's got a little bit of action here, but he can probably he's probably going to be doing better to look at that tackle right there. And then the deep guy, again, he doesn't, he's totally empty here, so he should be watching and helping out with middle third at this point, because it's simply because he's got nowhere else to be. Right? Back judge is probably going to flow a little bit towards action, especially if the quarterback rolls on him. All right. All right, so I'll tell you what, let's wrap up here. So this is right around 8 o'clock. So again, we just kind of rolled through some plays. They're kind of random. I know the answer, but any questions? Any comments? Anything from the peanut gallery? All right, guys, appreciate your time.
Listen, you guys, again, I'm going to stress, you need to go over this, the entire crew. The referees, umpires need to be a part of this discussion so they have some idea of what the hell's going on back there and who's got what and where. So take charge of those things as a referee and lead that discussion. Okay?
All right, hold on for a second. Hold on. All right, first of all, I was up here, I was telling a joke, and I guess it was inappropriate that I must apologize to Suna for making the gun joke. And I hope the gun joke. Seriously, I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to think anybody sexually harassing her or anybody. So I want to apologize to the group for making that joke, and I want to apologize to her. Okay, Asuna?
I can't hear you. Bye.
Did you not want me to play this?
Good job. Very good. Very good.